BRB UK. Worse teeth, better accents.
Hello, and indeed, ahoy, hoy. Welcome to BRB UK episode 535. That's right, episode 535. It still amazes me that there's more than 10 years of this. You know, if you think we do a weekly show, there's 10 years of this absolute nonsense, and no one has broken down the front door of the internet and stopped us doing it. Blows my mind. Anyway, I'm Dan. I'm one of your hosts. I still haven't worked out how to intro a podcast, despite 535 episodes. And I am joined, as ever, by the Coleman.
Hi!
And the Tim Man.
Hello.
How are you? You alright?
Yeah, all right.
You
All right.
well?
It's been a hard week,
Good.
but good.
Oh, Tim.
Hard, but good.
I bet you've been a brave little soldier, though. Haven't you been a brave little soldier?
I have so much work at the moment. It's unbelievable. I swear, my work just hasn't stopped since PSVR came out. If I want to make sure I've got too much work, just have a new system I'm excited about come out, and that'll almost guarantee it.
Yep, pretty much. That's how it works. That is
Yeah.
how it works. It's like my work went bonkers when Destiny 2 stuff came out, and then I got COVID, and then I thought I was having a fever dream when I was playing any of it. But anyway, that's a rant I had last week. You all right, Coleman?
Hi! Yeah,
Missed you
similar.
last week, buddy.
Yeah, sorry about that. I've got a massive backlog at work that's been caused from the tube strikes kind of impacting everyone around me and causing a lot of problems. I'm only just starting to see the other side of that now.
Well, when you are a super secret spy, I can see how that could happen.
Yeah, working a petrol station, Dan. We've spoken about
Yes,
this.
I mean the petrol station.
The petrol station which I work.
Yes, because
Definitely.
all the trains were cancelled. Everyone had to buy all of the petrol. Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Excellent.
More
Good,
people
right.
driving, taking the bus and
Yes.
what have you.
Yes. All the buses, they take a long time to fill up, which keeps you very busy at the not at all pretend petrol station.
Petrol station, the Shell garage.
Petrol station.
Other petrol is available.
So what have we been done playing? I suppose.
Straight into it.
I can go straight into it, or I can address the elephant in the room. And just,
There's an elephant in the
'cause
room?
I think we need to talk about this. Well, no, there's not an elephant in the room. I think
Phew.
no, there isn't an elephant. Right? This is something that kind of the news started breaking just after we finished recording
Mhm.
last week, and that was very sad news that Lance Reddick,
Oh.
who's been in The Wire, John Wick, and of course in gaming terms very well known for his role in Horizon Zero Dawn, and of course as Commander Zavala on Destiny 2, passed away on March 17th. And it was passed away very suddenly at the age of 60, and I just think it was just came so out of left field. I think he was like people who know, because he used to play a lot of Destiny, and people are like, yeah, he was going on patrol around UDZ last night.
Yeah.
And he was still posting, like he certainly didn't have any external signs of being unwell. So yeah, it's very, very, very sad. But I think what people have really been struck by is that he genuinely was a top bloke. And I think everyone who's ever worked with him, I don't think I've ever seen a bad word written about him. And it's not only his love for acting, I think, that was so incredible, but it was how he embraced the community around kind of the franchises he was involved in, both in kind of not only film, but TV, but also games as well.
Yeah.
And, absolutely loved playing Destiny, which is why he's one of my favorite people, of course, because he clearly knew a good game when he saw it, obviously. Even though he plays Commander Zavala, apparently mains a warlock, which is deeply confusing to me.
Good man.
Or he did
Good
main a
man.
warlock. But yeah, I mean, it's clearly very, very sad. But obviously thoughts go out to all his friends and family, and I think he's left the entertainment industry a better place because of all the wonderful roles he played, and the kind of love he gave back to the community. So rest in peace, Lance.
Yeah.
It sucks. He's gone. Truly
And
sucks.
Nerd hero and a nice guy by all accounts. So yeah, real shame.
The last thing that I saw him do was he put a video up on Twitter. I think I spoke about this on the show. He put a video up on Twitter, and he was basically saying wife and kids are out. I've got some time to myself. What am I doing? And then he puts on Destiny 2. He's like, yeah, getting really excited. And that was only that. I think that was only like 2-3 weeks ago. That went up, but yeah, I really like it. There's been a lot of footage floating around of him, not just his films and video game work, but TV work, and and interviews, all these different stories and things floating around, and he seems like you say, not just a nice guy, but also he's someone who's very good at kind of making fun of poking fun at the material that he works on, but also himself as well. I don't know if you've ever seen the Eric Andre show where he does the whole "I wish I
the
was
LeVar
LeVar
Burton
Burton."
one.
Yes,
Yeah.
he's dressed in the Roots costume
The
with
Roots
the
costume with a visor
on
on.
and a
Yeah,
little Star
brilliant.
Trek. Yeah, so yeah, he's definitely going to be missed, and definitely put a damper on Patrick's Day drinks as well. I will say, because we're just getting very bummed out about it.
Yeah, I mean, what was, obviously this is pretend people being pretend space people being in a pretend tower, kind of paying tribute to a fictional character. That all aside, it was actually very heartwarming, kind of over the weekend when you popped into the tower in Destiny, like people paying respects to Commander Zavala, kind of because that's the way they wanted to express it. They're going to miss
Yeah.
Lance Reddick, and so many people on so many times I went into the tower were doing it, and it's obviously a very sad thing, but in some ways, as these things often do, clearly have brought communities a little bit together. I mean, I think he's survived by his wife and kids.
Sorry, just to kind of go on to the kind of Destiny, because that is the most recent thing that he's currently been doing, because mainly because it's a live service and it is something he's a fan of. Do you think they'll put some kind of tribute in there, or are we so kind of close to the end of Destiny that it might be something that pops up in a Destiny 3?
Well, I don't know. I mean, to be honest, retconning the Destiny strip is quite frankly so far down the list of things that people really ought to be worried about or thinking about with this. They'll work something out. It would be nice if there was a tribute to him in some way, I think, because he has really contributed to that community. But at the same time, it's only a video game. I know we all love video games, and I know I'm particularly
I know.
rabid about Destiny. But I mean, I hope that the one thing I hope they don't do is recast him.
Yeah,
I think that they need to find out, and I'd imagine they've probably already got quite a lot of the dialogue for the ending chapter of Destiny probably already recorded. I would imagine. I mean, I'm just assuming that's the case. I don't know that's the case. But it would be nice if they found some way that didn't just was like, oh yeah, he went out to buy some milk and I haven't seen him since. I hope they find a way to kind of in a canonically good way.
I have to go. My home planet needs me, and just kind of floats off into the sky.
I'm off to polish my head. I just made him sound like Crichton. Why did I make him sound like Crichton?
Little bit. No, the only reason I bring that up, because I know there's kind of a strong background with MMO live service type games where if someone who worked on the game has passed away, then they'll kind of put some kind of memorial in there, updated into there at some point. I remember one of the quite large ones was Robin Williams when he passed away, and they put a genie into World of Warcraft because that was apparently one of his favorite games.
So the charity that Lance Reddick was involved in, if people want to, what the family have asked, if people want to and are able to do so, ask for any donations or well wishes to go to MOMCares. That's www.MOMCares.org, and that's a charity in Baltimore that helps single mums make ends meet and support them in all the trials and tribulations that life might throw in their way. So that would be if you're able to, and money is very tight, so only do so if you can. If you want to leave a tribute in some way, that might be a nice way to do it. But yeah, Lance Reddick, we're gonna miss him.
Yeah, it's kind of. I think that might actually put my Horizon play a little bit further back, just to kind of let the wounds heal first, before he pops up and I get sad again.
Yeah, I mean, and again, no spoilers, but the weekly mission on Destiny, because they're kind of drip feeding story every single week in Destiny. In the game, Tim, before you pipe up, scallywag, that was quite a poignant one this week, and involves a couple of long-standing characters in the franchise. It was just a bit like, oh wow, that's extra impactful this particular week. But yeah, I mean, it's a dreadful shame. It's a dreadful shame, but he like we said, I think he's left the games, film, and TV industry a better place because of how he's been involved in it. So
he will be missed.
Eyes up, Guardian.
Yes. Right, shall we move on to some happier topics? Because
I think so. I want to specifically hear about some wrestling. Is what I want to hear about. I want to hear about some wrestling.
I'd say I was going to go in all guns blazing with this, with my championship belt on and some sunglasses.
Were
and
you?
Start doing some heel
Do it
rock
now. It's
promos.
hanging
belt's
behind you.
Cole.
It's
so
hanging
knackered.
behind you.
I'm so knackered.
Put on the
I don't
belt.
think it will go down too well.
Put on the belt.
And
Put
peer
on the
pressure.
belt.
We want the belt. We want the belt.
Yay!
Yeah.
Put on some trousers. Put on some trousers.
Audio listeners very confused now.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's that way.
It's more for their benefit.
There we go.
There we go.
Plastic
That's it, Coleman.
championship belt. Happy now?
I'm
Yes.
very happy. I'm very happy.
What?
All right, good man, Coleman. It's what we like. All
right.
You were going to talk about wrestling.
I was going to talk about wrestling because
Wrestling. All right, wrestle me up.
it's my yearly, except for that one year where we didn't have any wrestle games. But it's my.
And that year where it was terrible and we don't really want to talk about it.
We did talk about it though.
We did, but
Yep.
You mocked
really,
it. I played
we'd
it.
rather forget that year.
It's kind of how a lot of these reviews go. I play the game. You make fun of the game.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I think that's generally our shtick for most reviews we do, to be fair. And that's why no one sends us review copies very often.
Death Stranding, Forspoken.
Destiny again and again and again.
Yeah, fair enough. Right,
Yep.
so WWE 2K23 is here. It is available now on all the things. You can get it on PC, Xbox One, PS4, PS5, and then the Xbox
Samsung
Series.
fridge.
Samsung fridge, a microwave.
Really?
In a you can get it in a choose your own adventure book form.
Can
you get it on the Play Date, the Atari
Really?
2600,
Oh, what ColecoVision? Can I get it on the
ColecoVision,
ColecoVision? Nice.
Intellivision, Commodore Plus
Really?
4. Yeah, but you've got to have the
Wow.
voice attachment for the Intellivision, so make sure so you can hear the rock.
So literally everything.
Yes.
Everything you can get it on. Okay,
Sure.
great.
But more
Well, thank
specifically,
goodness for that.
those original platforms that I said. But yes, this is back with much like we're kind of getting back into the form that because we had kind of a broken game that came out and a lot of people were very upset with. They took a year off. They came back with a new game, a new engine, new team, everyone behind it,
Choo-choo.
and made one of the best wrestling games in quite a long time. And now, as to be expected, like you'll get with a yearly installment, this one is going to be more of a you're going to see some visual improvements, you're going to see some mechanic improvements, roster changes, but overall at first glance it's not going to be a huge difference over previous years. So with this time, you've now got a roster of 160 different wrestlers.
That's
play
a
as.
lot of wrestlers.
Yes. You have your returning modes. You've got your showcase mode, which last year was Rey Mysterio. This year is all based on John Cena, but with a twist.
Mm-hmm.
So previously,
You can see
when
him this
they
time, yeah?
theme a show, you can kind of at times. You've got when you've got a showcase mode, it's usually celebrating the career of that person. So with Rey Mysterio, it was kind of following a timeline of his matches from WCW up until to the modern day. And then with John Cena, they've gone a kind of different way, which they've taken a bunch of his more famous matches, but they're matches that he lost. And you don't play as John Cena, you play as all his opponents beating John Cena. And it's kind of meant to be a sort of him learning a lesson after each match and brushing himself off and never give up is his kind of mantra, and showing how he's improved from match to match. So you've got different opponents like Rob Van Dam and AJ Styles and Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker and Triple H, loads to choose from as you're going through. Very fun mode. Kept me busy for a couple of days. Really enjoyed that. And there is I'll spoil the unlockable just because it's not a huge thing, but it is quite funny. You get a version of Cena that you can't see. So you've just got all his
basically.
You got all his attire. He's wearing, you can see his hat and his shirt and all that kind of stuff, but all his body and face and things are invisible. So you can't see him, Tim, as
Okay.
they love that old joke. Yes. But yeah, that was very cool. The showcase mode, and then you've also got your traditional kind of exhibition play. You've got a sort of career mode which again has a little bit of a change this time as well. Before, I think last year you could decide which show you're going to, so kind of development or Raw or SmackDown, and work your way through there and try to get different titles and things. And the further you go, it'll unlock new storylines and rivalries and things, and you learn how to do how to kind of branch off in the game. This one, you've got kind of two different ways of coming in. You can either go through the traditional, I'm going through developmental and working my way through, or you can go straight into a championship run and do go straight for the Intercontinental Championship and see how you go from there. So a little bit of improvement on there. The GM mode is back. The universe mode, all the stuff that you've seen in the previous game, that all returns. The thing where we're going kind of differently this year is the moveset has slightly changed. And by that, I mean they've added in combos, kind of like not so much like a Street Fighter, more like a beat 'em up, Streets of Rage or something. Simple sort of square, XXX square, X square circle, small combo patterns like that. But it's a way of extending your move set. So you've got your weak attacks, your stronger attacks, your grapples, and then you've got your combo moves added into that as well. And
is
also
everybody's
there's
combos
a different
the same
type of
sort of button inputs, or does it vary from fighter to fighter?
So I think if you have a more lightweight kind of high flyer type character, then you're more likely to have a longer chain of combos. Whereas if you are a much larger, stronger type of character, then you only have like a 3-button press combo, and the prompts may be the same depending on the classes, but the moves outcome will be different.
Okay.
So it's not like you've got to stick with one character and you master them and then you can move, then you start moving on from there. It's pretty much if you worked out a class, then you're going to be pretty similar the way forward. The other thing that's changed is the reversal system. So for quite some time, you hit one button and that one button is your reversal, and it's a prompt will appear at certain times. So just as you're about to get punched, or just as someone's about to grapple you, or in the moment of a move where you can run a reversal. They've changed that now where triangle is still your reversal button, but if you're being grappled,
just like on Gran Turismo.
Yeah, when you're being grappled,
a reverse button.
You've got to work out if you're hitting a light attack or a square attack, because you're trying to predict what type of move they're doing. So technically, you have 3 different ways of doing reversals, which should make matches a lot more interesting, especially when you're fighting against a friend. My friend Andrew, that we always play these games together when we get together. We have a tendency to set up a one-on-one match, and it will last for about 45 minutes because it's just a constant string of reversals, because we've become way too used to this game. So now there's 3 different types of ways of doing reversals. It should actually make a bit more challenge when facing an opponent now.
Yeah.
So are they kind of leaning into like you have to look for like the subtle tells of what your opponent's doing in order to kind of effectively counter them, or is it just
beforehand, no?
Just got to guess?
It's more a guessing game, which if you're fighting against someone and they, you might know this I definitely know this playing against Tim, most fighting games, people tend to stick to a pattern. Yeah.
Jump, heavy kick.
People will get into a habit of
Crouching
repetition with certain combos and patterns and things that you can pick up and figure out a reversal that way. A bit like the new Creed movie. So yeah, all that stuff's very good. It's really cool. I've been enjoying myself with it. The creator stuff, I've not gotten into it as big as I did last year. Just I spent so much time into that. I'm still making all my characters and things. I just haven't had as much time as I'd like to play this game just yet. But yeah, going in, the first thing to notice is graphics are amazing. It looks stunning. The wrestlers look more realistic than they've ever done before. Even wrestlers that in the past, for instance, Edge, he is a character over the years. Whenever they've scanned him in, he's always looked very weird. And this is the first. I think like these last 2 games are the first time they've gone, that looks like Edge. And there's a lot more improvements like that where characters are looking more like their characters now. So that's good.
Okay.
Gameplay is smoother than ever before. There's no kind of lag or slowdown as I've been playing, so that's been great. More wrestlers than ever, and there's the same kind of match types as before. The only real addition I spotted is there's a match type called War Games, which is an old WCW match that they've brought in over the last few years to the WWE, where they set up 2 different rings and 2 different cages and stick them together, where like a team of people will battle it out in both cages, and it'll
Sounds like my neighbours.
yeah, it's like chaos and chaos, and it's very enjoyable.
Chaos.
But that was the only real match difference I could find this year. I thought we were going to get Lion's Den in there. I thought I saw that somewhere, but I haven't seen that yet. The kind of downfall of the game is that, again, there's not so many innovations as you may expect, because this is an annualized game now. You're not going to see that many improvements each year. Couple of glitches and bugs. I've had like grab a character and they've been stuck to a leg stuck to a rope, graphical glitches sort of thing. I had one crash.
Is it like a big elastic leg? Does the leg keep getting longer and longer and longer?
That has happened. That didn't happen this time, but
Dalsim, I wondered when you joined the WWE. How you doing, mate?
Well, I've definitely seen that before. But yeah, and I've had one crash as well, which wasn't great.
Ah.
And the other thing is, there's I spoke about this in last year's game. They've introduced this kind of weird. It's like a collectible card game, but the cards you're collecting are wrestlers, and you level up those cards by using them to fight actual matches. So it's got a weird kind of FIFA Ultimate Team vibe to it, which last time I went, I'm not trying that at all because there's microtransactions tied to this, and I'm seeing it being like FIFA Ultimate Team. This year, I've gone into it and tried a little bit more of it, and I'll tell you what, it is actually fun. I can see myself, once I'm done with all the story and career and everything like that, and it's kind of sitting about, I might get into that more often, because it is very challenging playing this way and doing these legendary matches and all this kind of stuff. However, once again, there are microtransactions tied to it. So if you're into one of those kind of modes where you're going, I'll play, I want to play this every day and I want to collect all the different cards and the variants and the limited time editions, that stuff can get very tempting. So if you're a little bit prone to the old gambling mechanics, you might want to avoid that mode completely. So it's a good game, but you can play everything else and completely avoid that mode if you so wish, much like a FIFA Ultimate Team. And the other thing, price is very weird with this game. So if you want to pick this up on PC, that is a $49.99 game. If you want to pick that up on PS4 and Xbox One, $59.99. If you want to get this on PS5 or Xbox Series X and S, $64.99.
Ooh.
Yeah. Shop around, look for physical deals, because these games go down in price physically very quickly.
It sounds like you're pleased overall with what they've presented to you, though, no?
Oh yeah, it's very enjoyable, and I like that I wish they put it out like a couple of weeks earlier, because WrestleMania is in like a couple of weeks, and I'd like to get all my creator characters all made ready. So when I go to my mate's house to watch WrestleMania, we've got them all ready to go. I'd like a little bit more time to do that and get my head in the game, get behind the mechanics a bit better. But unfortunately, not so much time to get my practice in this year.
Oh well.
But I do like that they've moved it, further earlier in the year instead of later in the year, because.
Like you say, it makes sense to get it out in time for WrestleMania, because that's the big highlight of the year, sort of thing. It's
the biggest show of the year. It's the World Cup final of wrestling pay-per-views.
The World Cup final of not at all scripted sport. Love it.
Well, the way it usually goes is these games would come out in October, November time, and then they would be super heavily discounted over Christmas, and then people would have completely forgotten about them by February. And then you get to April, you get to the April period and WrestleMania starts hyping up, and then they go, oh, now's a good time to start advertising that game we released last year again. And no one gives a stuff because it's gone back up to full price and everyone's done with it anyway.
No.
So this was a good idea to put it out this time of the year now and actually tie it into those celebrations. But yeah, that's
Fair enough.
WWE 2K23. If you're a fan of the genre, I recommend it. I might look for some kind of deal on PC in future because I want to do some stuff on PC regarding modding with that game that could be fun.
Ooh.
Yes.
Oh, you made it sound far more salacious and pervy than I think perhaps you intended. I want to get all the mods on it. I want to give John Cena a really big floppy ding dong.
I do like. Oh God, that was the other thing I forgot to mention. Sorry, that card game.
Oh, sorry. No, I really hope they're thinking about John Cena's big floppy ding dong.
No.
Created a train of thought that's troubling for you.
I literally just remembered. There's
Ooh, no.
hidden models of characters and stuff that you can only play if you play that card game.
Oh.
And some of them are like special edition type characters. So, for instance, a lot of when the game was going out to influencers and things early, there was a lot of images floating around of this secret John Cena character that you can play as, where he's an action figure and he's running at a lower frame rate than all the other characters, a bit like the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse thing, Miles Morales skin.
Yeah.
And it looks really cool. And I was just thinking, oh, that was really cool. I can't wait to play, unlock that hidden character. How do I unlock that character and play as him? So no, he's only available in the flipping card mode. And the only way you can get it is if you buy this action figure in America and scan it into the game. And yeah, it's very convoluted, but there are people that get the PC versions and they kind of data crawl and find these secret characters and things and then make them available as creator characters and secret second skins and things, and then re-upload them online. And you can do stuff like that and get away with it, apparently. So that's kind of why I want the PC version of the game.
Probably cheaper
pretty
than
fun.
buying them all individually and importing an action figure from America and everything else. But yeah.
Yeah. But I want action figure Cena. He looks cool.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, you don't need much of an excuse to buy an action figure or something that you like, Coleman.
I don't know what you're talking about, mate.
Yes, 1, 2, 3, and then there's a small menagerie of amiibo that you've got hiding in your room as well. I'm not. Are amiibo a menagerie? I don't really know.
Sound good to me.
I do have a bag of amiibo somewhere, but I don't think I actually have
a bag of amiibos.
A sack of amiibo.
Well, I got this random Batman from Arkham City that came with the game. But I think that's like the only big toy I've got. And my stupid child's belt.
No, it's not a stupid belt. It's an awesome belt.
Champion.
Right, I'm now asking the internet what the collective noun for amiibo is. All right, see what you've done to me. It's having a think about it.
I'll ask Google Bard.
No, no. There hasn't got any suggestions. It's like, you what, mate? You're 43. Grow up. It's I think probably what the internet's saying to me. So which order do you want to go next? You want to go Tim, and then I can squeeze in my bit, or do you want me to go first?
You go first.
I think yours is the more topical.
Yeah.
Yes. So
sorry. A collective noun for amiibos is a collection.
I mean, it's pretty boring.
A collection of amiibos.
It's all right. Our AI overlords aren't ready yet. It's fine.
Also, no S. Plural of amiibo is amiibo, much like Lego.
But wouldn't that make
a collection of
amiibo?
A
single amiibo. An amoeba.
An
amoeba, wouldn't it?
Sure.
Or an amoeboid.
I'd still prefer a sack of amiibos, but hey.
So anyway, Diablo 4. I hear that's a good game.
Diablo 4. So I was not expecting to get into the beta. So the weekend just gone was the closed beta. There is an open beta of Diablo 4 this weekend.
Yep,
available on PC, PS5, Xbox Series. I'm not sure PS4 and Xbox One or not. I can't
Playdate.
I think
Commodore Plus 4.
Exact ZX
Amiga
Spectrum.
1200. It's very important you get the 1200.
I always like the Amiga 500 though.
500 plus is the way to go.
Yeah, it was the way to go. But not Atari ST, because everyone knows Atari ST's for losers, right?
Mm-hmm. I was an Amiga boy.
Yeah, I'm glad we all agree on that. So
said,
it was
"See
the
you
closed
later, boy."
beta, and I was not expecting to get into it. In fact, me and Kev had lengthy discussions about, should we pre-order it? Is it going to come to Game Pass? I don't know. Do we want to drop the money on it? But because if you're an O2 or a Virgin phone customer, they just gave you a beta code.
Oh, that was nice.
Gave you a beta code. So I was like, I'm an O2 customer. Other phone networks are available.
Good.
So I got me a cheeky free beta code without expecting. So I redeemed that on the PC, played on there. I mean, it seems less controversial than in America, where there were free beta codes given out with KFC, but that was quickly interpreted as anti-vegan because the only way you could get a code is by ordering a chicken sandwich, not ordering any of their food. You had to order some kind of chicken-based product.
Well, I think the biggest insult of that wasn't because they've done this before with if you wanted codes for Destiny, then you had to get flipping Red Bull, stuff like that. If you wanted codes for Avengers, then you needed to have Virgin Internet. All these weird kind of tie-ins. I think the most offensive thing about the KFC promotion was that you had to get the McDouble, which is an abomination upon chicken and
not
God.
Surely not the McDouble.
It's not the McDouble.
Sorry, not the
It's a
McDouble.
double.
What's it called?
Double.
The double.
Double down.
That's it.
The double down.
The double down.
Where basically
it's
a bacon and cheese sandwich, where instead of bread you've got 2 bits of chicken.
Yeah,
it's such
filthy.
an unappealing looking thing. And I did try one once out of blind curiosity because people had told me they were good. Like, this is by far, and I don't like KFC. This is the worst thing I've ever eaten from that place.
Yeah, but if it's something that is all about hell and demons, I mean, I would guess demons. There's a chance they probably aren't vegan, is what I would guess. But I still think it's a little bit exclusionary. That it's like, right, you've got to buy a meat-based product in order to get this. So a bit of a fail. But no, I was very impressed with the beta. I mean, it was a beta-ass beta. There's no two ways about it. It had
again,
some
Dan, it's in the name, but
and it's in the name. But they're actually. I read an interview with some of the game developers, and they actually commented on that. I think people have kind of really have got great memory about what a beta really is. It's a beta. We haven't finished it yet. It's going to be broken. And in some ways, it being broken now is really good because it means we can fix things later.
Yeah.
There was only 3 characters available out of the 6 in total, I think, due to release. Only Act 1 out of, I think, 4 acts of the game were there. So only really like the first world. And you could only level up to level 25. But there was still plenty of content there. I mean, one of the things I think that really surprised me was they've really
A ghost.
not that I'm trying to. Thanks, Com. Not that I'm trying to make everything about Destiny. But they've actually a lot of kind of the stuff that I think makes Destiny feel alive, where you just encounter random players as you're going about your business in the game world. There's a lot more of that. All the towns are actually multiplayer hubs where you can see other players wandering about. You will encounter other players dealing with random events in the world that you can help out with, or just go, you suck, and then run off into the distance. So there's a lot more. The world feels a lot more alive, I think, than it ever did in Diablo 3. And they've overhauled so many systems. The loot system, even in the beta, felt really rich and interesting. And they've clearly thought about, build crafting being the end game. And you can really get a nice idea of how much you're going to be able to customize your character. Visually, I thought it looked great. In terms of beta jank, there was a lot. It was very juddery to play. I don't know whether or not that was graphic card driver issues. I think actually it was all the multiplayer stuff under the hood. I kind of got the feeling it was waiting for kind of other players' status to be updated, and that was causing it to judder. But very impressive. I played largely as a sorcerer, which is modern for wizard, apparently. And so lots of range play, and apparently that is one of the better classes to play in the beta. Apparently the barbarian isn't tanky enough, so we'll go in to try and stave something's head in with a big old stick, and they just flick him and he'd fall over and die. So that's really not prime barbarian stuff. But no, the graphics were very good. The story seems very, very rich. The cinematics they showed were beautifully done, as I think we tend to expect with Blizzard games. But I thought, viewing it through the lens of it's a beta, of course it's going to be a bit broken. I thought it was very promising. I didn't delve too much into the PvP side of things. Apparently there's going to be a bit more of that although there was a PvP mode in Diablo 3. I really don't think many people did much with it. And it sounds like, reading through the blog post, like kind of the Paragon system. So when you reach level 50 and you continue to kind of level your character up, there's going to be a lot more customization in that, rather than just choose which of these 4 things you want to put a point into. It's going to be like there's going to be modifiers based on your class, and you can patch like a series of boards together to work to focus on certain skills. So it looks like it's going to have some real legs on it. The one thing that really they didn't really reveal much about was the battle pass system. So like Destiny, it sounds like there's going to be the free tier of season passes, and then there's going to be the paid for tier of season pass.
Very much like Diablo Immortal, now available on mobile phones everywhere.
Yeah, you got a phone, haven't you?
I do have a phone.
You got a phone? You got a phone, haven't you? Jesus. I think, reading kind of the developer blog post, I think they're very aware of how distasteful the implementation of Diablo Immortal was for many people. They keep repeating, look, it's only cosmetics. Yes, there will be some things that will always you'll have to pay for to get, but there is still good looking armor elsewhere in the game that you'll be able to have. So I always approach these things with an air of skepticism. I don't know how many seasons, presumably I don't know how many seasons a year there are in Diablo 3 at the moment, probably 3 or 4. But I don't know how regularly these battle passes are going to be, how much they're going to cost, so on and so forth. But, I think it's a really interesting kind of MMO light way to take Diablo 4. And I'm really interested to get back. I'm really looking forward to getting back into it this weekend. I played it on PC, but I'm really want to see how it performs on PS5 and Xbox Series. But one thing they have done, and thank goodness they have done this, this time they've actually baked in controller support to the PC version, which I think, and Kevin, I live and breathe PCs white. Both he and I agree that was the way to play Diablo 3, and they've done a cracking job with it in Diablo 4.
Plus, you got exclusive content for playing it on PlayStation 4 as well.
And it's going to be cross-play and cross-progression.
Excellent.
Diablo 4. So pick it up on your favoritist platform to start with, and then if you fancy giving it a go on another one, then hopefully just wait for a decent sale and you'll be sorted. The one thing I did manage to do, and this is probably swayed me to getting it on PC first, even though it's online, you have to be online all the time with Diablo 4. Not ideal, but you have to be online the whole time. I did manage to get it working on my massive dick.
Yeah, this is what I wanted to ask. How is that?
Graphic settings low, obviously, to 48. It was a bit difficult to tell because a lot of the juddering that I experienced, I was also getting on a desktop PC.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think some of the frame rate issues are due to something else with the engine. But I mean, there is a moderate amount of hackiness to it. Is it particularly painful to do? No. Do you have to jailbreak your Steam Deck? No. Do you have to put in admin passwords? No. I mean, essentially, what you have to do with the way the Steam Deck runs a lot of stuff that isn't Linux native. It runs it through a compatibility layer, so it makes the application think it's running on Windows. And there's various flavors of what's called Proton. And if you download a particular version, the latest version, it allows you to play Diablo 4. It will complain that you don't have a GPU when you start the game for the first time. But you go,
nice.
I do, mate. I'm golden. But it works fine. Obviously, be realistic with the expectations, but it does seem to recognize the Steam Deck as having an AMD GPU, which it does. and it therefore allows you to do the Fidelity FX scaling, like kind of AMD's version of DLSS. So you can actually get a pretty decent frame rate, admittedly with some artifacts, but it will kind of upscale a lower resolution to make it look good in the Steam Deck.
Ooh.
I'm going to give it another go this weekend, but yeah, very pleasantly surprised I was able to get away with doing that. Would I make it my go-to place to play it? No, probably not. But is it good enough to just have a little dabble if you're sat on the sofa looking at multiple screens at the same time? Probably.
I have a question, Mr. Dan. How many players is it online co-op?
4 online and 2 couch co-op.
Ooh.
You can play couch co-op as
It's
well.
like previous.
Ooh. Just wondering, because if it was only 3-player, then I'm probably not going to pick it up because you, Coleman, and Kev would possibly group together. But yeah, that might encourage me to pick it up more if I can possibly play it with you guys. But still might hold off for now. But
are you going PC, PlayStation?
No, if I was going to pick it up, I'd go PlayStation. So that's why when you said it was cross-play and stuff, then I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, I'll see on that one. I'd see how rich I'm feeling when it comes out. But
I mean, if you buy RRP on Battle.net, there's PC. The standard edition is £59.99. The digital deluxe edition is £79.99, and the ultimate edition is £89.99.
So yeah, there's a £10 difference between getting it on PC and getting it on the consoles, but also there's no discount for getting it on last gen only, which I think you should at least allow and entertain for that, and then maybe charge later if there's an upgrade or something like that. I don't know. I don't know how to do video game pricing and all that kind of stuff, but it might be one of those cases. I'm thinking I might go for a PS5 version on disc because I tend to find decent deals on pre-order disc games, and I do have some credits saved up on what was the one I was using? Game Collection, I think. The Game Collection. They've been pretty decent lately, so I'll have a look into it. But yeah, it seems to be going down well, which is good. I like that Kev's been fighting to get a level 20 ding so he can have a wolf in a backpack. It looks like.
Yep, I didn't have the time to hit level 20 this weekend, but the closed beta progress rolls over to the open beta, so I will be getting my little wolf in a knapsack is what I'm going to be getting.
So much work to catch up on this weekend, but I really want to try get level 20 so I can get a flipping little backpack with a wolf in it.
I know. Well, we'll I'm sure we can get you there. But I mean, it's I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm hoping to do a bit more delving in the dungeons, since I think I was a bit underleveled really for them.
Delving in the dungeons.
Got to delve in the dungeon, mate.
One last thing I wanted to check. I don't know if you know this, because I looked this up and I got 2 different articles with 2 conflicting pieces of information.
Okay.
Is progress from the beta carrying over, or
no?
No, I didn't think so. Yeah, I got one saying yes and one saying no, and I was like, well, that doesn't help me at all. I would assume no, because no beta ever lets you. Demos do.
Within the beta, yes, but between the beta and the final game, no.
Gotcha.
Is my understanding.
Okay, that's cool.
Sorry.
That's fine.
I'm sorry.
I don't mind.
I'm sorry.
I mind.
I'm sorry. I'll try harder next time. Oh, but the other thing as well, if you are going to try it on the Missive Dick, don't download the high resolution texture pack.
I guess that.
I
would guess that for any modern game.
Yeah, well, put it this way: the beta with the high resolution, this is just the beta, was 89 gig.
Oh,
without the high resolution pack, it's still 41 gig, but that's still 40 less gig you're having to rustle around the back of the sofa to find.
Tim, pick a VR title to talk about.
Well, I wanted to gloss over all 3 of these. One of them is just the fact that the C Smash VRS demo is out today. And so I haven't had a chance to play that yet. I have downloaded it.
And don't talk about it.
That just to tell people to download it. That's out. The one
Decision.
that I played.
Decision tree. Have I played it? No. Should I talk about it? Therefore, no.
If you interrupt me, it doesn't take less time, Dan. Right.
The goggles do nothing.
The one I wanted to concentrate on.
The
one I wanted to concentrate on was Switchback VR, because I played that to completion this week. It's not the longest game in the world, and it is a reasonably high price, but I still think it's worth it. It's a good game. For anyone who doesn't know, that's a spiritual successor to Until Dawn Rush of Blood, one of the widely regarded as one of the best games on PSVR, despite being a launch title. This came out. There's been a bit of a controversy over the blurriness of the thing, something the developers felt necessary to come out and speak about. They have said that they've identified a problem that they think was adding to the blurriness, and it's something that they're looking to patch in the future by the looks of things.
Okay.
It was something that was
it Vaseline?
It was just, it looks like someone smeared a bit of Vaseline on the game. It
was
doesn't look
Vaseline.
as quite as clear as
put too much Vaseline in.
as other PSVR 2 games. I don't think it's it was noticeable when playing the game, but not to a degree where it completely harmed my enjoyment of the game, basically. But hopefully that's something that I'm patching out. There also seems to be a few people experiencing more bugs than that, and I didn't really experience any of them myself on my playthrough. And there seems to be some people that are complaining a bit louder about the blurriness, and whether that's more of a problem for them is a bit of a mystery at the moment. But as I said, it's something the devs are looking at dealing with. The actual gameplay, you're on a roller coaster, and it is a light gun game from a seated position in that roller coaster. It's horror themed. This one is all based around the 5 different games in the Dark Pictures anthology, which we've spoken about on the show before. So, another chance to mention Man of Medan, because I know you like that one, Dan. But then, Little Hope and the few others that have been there as well. The Devil and Me being the latest one. And it takes you through all 5 of those games, and there's kind of like a couple of levels in each world that kind of corresponds to each game. Yeah, like it's not a drastic improvement over the previous one, but I don't think it necessarily needed to be. They haven't reinvented their formula. For me, as much as I'm a fan of the Dark Pits anthology, I was probably a bigger fan of Until Dawn. And so this doesn't hit quite as hard, but it's still like creepy environments, creepy enemies, lots of jump scares. There's some of the like blinking technology where it does the eye tracking stuff, and as you blink, these kind of mannequins move and get closer to you every time you blink.
Oh, that's pretty cool, actually.
Missed the first one of those rooms, the first 2, because there's also like alternate paths that you can take through the levels, and each level's got like 3 or maybe 4 different paths you can take, where you can go left or right on the tracks and experience something different. So actually on the blinking thing is something that you've seen a lot in preview, but I actually went the other way, and there was a thing where you couldn't make any sound, or you got attacked by more dogs by the looks of things. So there's various different things in there and stuff like that.
In VR?
Yeah. The different path thing does add to the replayability.
In real life, they come round and
there's
set
also
a pack of schnauzers.
There's also like a high score thing that you can try and keep up your combo to keep your score high. So there is reasons to go back and replay the game. I do think it's a slightly on the high side for a VR game when it's not the longest, but the replayability does help offset that a little bit. Yeah, overall, I really enjoyed it. It was a good game, and I look forward to playing more of it, basically. But yeah, there were a few things. Blurriness was one thing. As I said, it wasn't a massive reinvention of their formula. I also think it could have done with a few more headset haptics. It did have a little bit of that, like there was a bit of rumble and stuff, but they didn't seem to have any rumble when you hit your head on things, or most things that you hit your head on didn't seem to give you a rumble. And I think it should give you quite a severe rumble when you do, because you're kind of ducking and diving out of the way of things and having to duck under things as part of the gameplay. But I think it should give you a more kind of headset haptic feedback when that does happen. And I also think there should be a little more haptic feedback, like, you know, when you're kind of climbing up a roller coaster and it kind of does that clanky thing.
Yes, all the time.
Yeah, and that's something where I think there should be more haptic feedback for that, so that it kind of feels more akin to that in real life, and kind of makes it a bit more, ratchets up the tension a little bit more as you're going up the roller coaster. I also, for some reason, I don't know whether it's just I've got more used to VR or whether it just didn't feel as impactful, but the actual roller coaster portions of the game when you're kind of dipping down and stuff they didn't feel as impactful in this as they did in Rush of Blood, and I'm not entirely sure why that was, basically. But generally, enjoyable game. I have, enjoyed playing through it, and will be playing through it again. And yeah, the guns and stuff with the haptic feedback feel good as well. So yeah, that side of things is good. Want to very quickly mention The Walking Dead: Saints and Sinners Chapter 1. Chapter 2 did come out this week, but they also had an upgrade for Chapter 1. Now, just want to talk a little bit because there was a lot of confusion online. I saw people confused on this on launch day and people confused beforehand. I actually asked for some clarification on this. I saw other people asking for clarification on this, and the devs didn't seem to clarify the situation. But they were saying that if you upgraded to the tourist edition, only people with the tourist edition would get the free upgrade to that. Now, you could buy something that was called the tourist edition for PS4, and you could buy that before launch for £8. So I did that. That did not give me access to the game because on launch day, they launched a separate thing called the Tourist Edition for PS5 that you had to buy separately to get the upgrade. So I actually had to pay £16 to get it. Well, I actually ended up paying £16 to get this because I bought the other one beforehand, which did also give me access to some in-game content on day one. But
I'm a little bit confused because I have The Walking Dead: Saints and Sinners. I have the tourist edition of that game.
Yeah.
So if I had a PS VR 2, you're telling me I'm buying an upgrade that game as an upgrade?
If you already had that, you can now but they didn't release this until the day of release. So, and they didn't talk about this was happening beforehand. So a lot of people like me bought the upgrade to the tourist edition, so we'd be ready to hopefully download it on day one. But then they released a separate thing that came up that if you have the tourist edition, you can download for free. But the thing that you bought beforehand was also called the tourist edition, but didn't give you access to that upgrade. So it was really just oddly messaged and badly done, basically.
I have another question. Is the thing that you bought the upgrade for owners of the game? Or is it the tourist edition of the game?
Are you wondering if Tim did a silly?
No.
Is that what you're wondering?
Right. I made a mistake, but the developers didn't clarify this, and I saw lots of people asking, and they didn't clarify to anyone that this was the case.
Right.
The thing you had to buy was only being released on the release date. Like, you could not pre-buy this and upgrade to the tourist edition. And on the day of release, they still had multiple things that were called the tourist edition. And if you pay to upgrade to the PS4 one, you got some in-game content rather than getting the upgrade you needed to buy to get the free upgrades to the PSVR 2 edition. So it was very confusingly done. They had multiple things with the same name. They should have just, instead of calling it the tourist edition and having all of that nonsense, they should have just said, there will be an upgrade that you need to buy on release day. They'll be releasing on release day. Buy that upgrade and not call it the tourist edition. Call it the PSVR 2 upgrade pack or whatever. And then that would have clarified the situation. They wouldn't have had people doing this. I saw people complaining and getting refunds because they bought the wrong thing. And it just seemed to be badly messaged, which is a real shame because I've only played Chapter 1 and apparently Chapter 2 has even more improvements and has new weapons like the chainsaw and stuff, look really good fun. But it also has even more graphical improvements than Chapter 1 does, possibly. But from the little bit that I've played so far, I can definitely see why you said this was your favourite PSVR 1 game, Coleman.
Yes,
because like the inventory system and everything in it is great. The slightly stylized graphics really pop really nicely in PSVR 2. It looks fantastic. It plays really well. And so far I've really enjoyed I've only played the first portion of the game, so you're introed and you get introed to the kind of starting area, and then you have to take a little skiff to your first mission. So I've done that first mission, died, and then it was like, all your stuff will be where you died. And I was like, and then the stuff that I bought accidentally that gave me options of new stuff in game, part of those were 3 recipes for weapons. I put loads of my stuff into making one of those weapons, stuck it to the side of my backpack where it's supposed to go. And then when I went to use it, wasn't there anymore. I was like, oh, all right then. So yeah, a little.
You've had a tough time with it by the sounds of it. Tim.
No, a couple of hiccups aside, and it's a shame that there was so much obfuscation with the whole upgrade path thing, because even Chapter 1 is a brilliant game, and I look forward to playing Chapter 2 at some point as well. But I'll probably wait until that goes down in price to offset the fact that I paid more money than I should have done to get into Chapter 1 for the start. But yeah, I'll possibly talk about that a bit more next week, because I only played a little bit of it so far.
Well, you'll be happy to know I just got a free update for The Walking Dead Saints of Sinner on PS5, and I don't even have a PSVR. Here you go.
Yeah.
But as I said, that didn't come out to release date, and they
Tim?
didn't clarify that. So yeah, it was all a bit weird. But yeah, hey.
Aww.
Fair enough. It's a good game. Yeah, imagine, Dan, a first-person survival game in VR with roguelike mechanics.
Oh my gosh.
Mechanics.
No one's ever thought of that before, ever.
But also
It's
very
very
well
fun,
done,
though.
though.
And
it looks very good.
Yeah, it's very satisfying, especially when you've got like a couple of straggling walkers, because you can fire guns and two-hand weapons and go up against hordes and stuff. But it's very fun when you just have like a knife and you creep up on one and grab them by the head and go stab them.
Can actually grab their head and then stick the knife into their brain, basically. But I came a cropper.
Pull the thing out.
Yeah, I came a cropper when, instead of actually caving in a zombie's head, I accidentally stuck my crowbar into his chest, and he just munched on my brain while I was trying to pull it out. So yeah,
yeah. It's it takes a few hours to get into, but there's going to be a point where you start killing zombies, and kind of much like the comic and the TV show, you've got to kind of scoop their insides out and use it to mask your scent, so you can walk among them for however long. But that's when it starts getting really hard, because loads of walkers will be walking around you. You've got to kind of make your way through a horde, and that stuff's fun.
Okay,
Nice.
I hear there's even bigger hordes in Chapter 2 as well now. So.
But on the bright side, Coleman, Tim sounds rubbish at fending off zombies. So if there is ever a zombie apocalypse, us two only need to be quicker than Tim, and we'll be fine.
I mean, if you remember, I played the hell out of this game just as lockdown started, because I felt like I needed to prepare.
Yeah,
Fair.
Yeah, Division all of a sudden felt a very different game once lockdown kicked in, I have to say. But
yeah, great game. Should we do some news?
Yeah, we're already fairly long.
All right, we're going to cut a fair few bits out. I will quickly say, because this one is breaking news, this happened just before we started. It looks like we're going to get a new Turtles video game based off the recent comic, The Last Ronin, which is a very good game. A very good comic series. If you don't know, that's one turtle out of the four, the one surviving turtle, you don't know who it is, going up and trying to get revenge for his slain brothers. And it's a very enjoyable series. I won't spoil who the turtle is, because that's very good in itself. But
Kevin.
It's meant to be a very God of War looking style of game. So that sounds like a good fit for me, and that's meant to come out some point this year.
I don't remember the Turtles having an axe, though.
No. Oh, and this one fights with all the weapons.
Oh, nice.
All of the weapons.
All of the weapons. So that's cool.
So he's got your scythes, he's got your katanas, he's got your nunchucks, he's got your bow. All of those things.
Okay.
No, Tim.
Right. The big news this week is the Unreal highlights, State of Unreal 2023, where they announced the Unreal Engine 5.2 update and released it, and that's got a bunch of new improvements. How much of this did you guys check out? Because I think the stream in total was about
sizzle reel.
Yeah, I think the stream in total, if you look it up, was like 17 hours. But someone in the comments did quite nicely put in all the links to the points of the video you need to be checking out. Really, I liked the look of all the Lumen stuff, because they've spoken about using Lumen before and showed some stuff off with Fortnite, but it's kind of listening to what the challenges of using it. It's not just a kind of, hey, set it and forget it kind of thing. It's things like, hey, you're playing a multiplayer shooter battle royale type game. You can't be walking out of a tunnel way, and then all of a sudden this bloom lighting obscuring your view from the other player. So I found all that stuff very fascinating, how you've got to kind of tweak these new systems to make them work for the specific type of game. But all that stuff is very interesting. It's very worth watching.
Yeah, I was really amazed with some of the stuff that, like, some of the tools they're giving game creators, and I think what's really, because anyone can download and develop stuff in Unreal. It's only once you release the thing do you start having to pay money for it, essentially.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a load of tools that I think that are really going to enable smaller indie studios to develop things that look and feel like AAA titles. It really is quite incredible, like kind of the technology they built into the system to make the process of generating believable worlds so much easier. So I think it's really exciting.
For me, I think the standout thing I saw from I didn't watch the whole thing, but I did watch the kind of midpoints and went through some of the stuff. But I think the standout thing for me was the meta-human stuff they did, and the particularly capturing a performance with a phone, and then how quickly they were able to turn that into multiple different character models and stuff. Like, I thought that was quite impressive. The other thing that I didn't entirely see the details on this, but they said that they're I think it was within Fortnite, the creators that create content for that will earn up to 40% of the income from the game in total, and that's including all the money that
that's cool.
that Epic actually earns from in the game as well. I wasn't sure if that was a wider engine thing or just in Fortnite. It sounded like it was just within Fortnite. But the fact that they're rewarding creators for doing that and sharing some of the money with that sounds, because it makes a hell of a lot of money.
Sounds
good. That's good that they're actually sharing that out a bit as well, basically, and empowering creators and actually rewarding them for their efforts. So yeah, that was good.
Yeah, there's been whether it's justified or not, over the last few years, there has been a bit of negativity towards Epic, whether that be the launcher or the company itself. So it seems like they're kind of trying to make strides to at least improve their image to the public, and that is one that will help out. But very impressive show. I thought that you said the meta creator stuff was really interesting. I liked that whole demo where it's always really funny as well when they show stuff off like this and they go, hey, look, this procedurally generated environment that looks realistic and you can drive around in it in a very real way. And these are all the systems that make driving a 4x4 through that and all this kind of stuff. And I go, that's great. I'll never own anything that will be able to run any of this.
Yeah.
It's so expensive looking.
The thing that they showed off that I thought was amazing was when they zoomed into the truck and showed that kind of paint job that you can't get in real life, where it was the kind of refractive sort of thing.
Those made out of like opal.
Yeah. And then the dirt layer that they showed on top of that and how that made the lighting change and all that type of stuff. That was like, oh my, that's going to look really good in driving games and stuff as well. But But yeah, just like, I don't understand all the technical side of it, but it did seem like it was a lot of it was empowering game creators to make things faster and better in Unreal. So yeah, it seemed like this could be something where
lots of applause.
It might take a bit of time before we actually see the full results of the 5.2 engine and everything that it can offer to people. But yeah, probably exciting times for game development coming up by the looks of things.
Yeah.
It's funny as well because this was done in an auditorium with a live audience, and there was a whole, when it's kind of the E3 thing, you don't know how much of that is their people, how much of that is press, or how much of that is fans or influence, whatever. But it was the point where they go, okay, this part of the level is done by hand, and then past it, this is all procedurally generated. It's just hearing one person go,
no.
That's insane. But yeah, that was really cool. I thought was interesting as well is the idea of using you can now you'll be able to develop your own games inside Fortnite, which of the I don't know, you saw the example of the Fortnite character walking through a sort of fantastical Chinese type land, and then they all of a sudden put the gun away, pull a sword out, and then a gigantic Souls-like dragon pops out. Okay, I'm up for this. Let's see what happens in Fortnite now.
Yeah, but going anywhere near Fortnite makes me feel very, very old.
I've been required.
Very
I've been recommended playing it a few times, and I really should at least give it a go. Just at least. Well, I mean, you should, Dan, because you got into PUBG once.
I'm more old Fartnite than Fortnite these days. I think is.
Come on, we can get some of those chicken
the problem.
dinners. Is that a thing?
Ooh.
Is that
Can I get one of those
transfer?
vegan chicken dinners?
Winner tofu dinner.
Ooh, yummy.
But yeah, the whole. I'll put a link in the show notes to the whole of the State of Unreal if you want to check it out for yourself. It is worth checking out. Something that's got the internet in a bit of a tizzy, and there's been a lot of talk about AI this week, and a lot of the Digital type talk. And if anyone works in if there's anyone working in the media industry, there is a lot of panic going around for people that aren't management or higher about the excitement of AI. And there's big talks of Google just releasing, which I've been playing around with Bard. I managed to get into that beta. That's been interesting to play around with. And Adobe, they've just announced their version as well. And Ubisoft have revealed that they are releasing an AI script writing tool internally called AI Ghostwriter. Sorry, it's called Ghostwriter. It's an AI ghost writing tool. But
is it just going to generate incomprehensible books and just call it an Assassin's Creed game?
Yes.
So nothing will change there then.
The idea. So the idea of this, and a lot of people, alarm bells are ringing because you say AI generated content in any kind of way, and people go, "Hey,"
and then Ubisoft, they love money.
Well, no, it's the idea of it's not generating content; it's crawling through the internet, pulling everyone else's content and jumbling it up into a slightly different version of that content.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the idea of this is it's an AI tool that is they're going to use as a tool and not something to just generate all scripts, but it's meant for dialogue for NPCs, which is then going to be tweaked by a different team. So it is meant to be an aid for less time into writing.
Yeah,
but
I think it's going to have some interesting results in the next few years. But yeah,
I mean, I could see like in how like a live service game where they're wanting to give the idea of a world that is alive and kind of make in-game NPCs responsive to kind of those events. I could see how it could be good there. But yeah, it's like with a lot of these things, it feels like a little bit of the thin end of the wedge of, with great power comes great responsibility and all that. If
they generally go as a tool, like I can see this is how AI should be used as a tool to help people with certain tasks. But again, you can say it's not taking jobs away, but it is kind of taking jobs away because NPC dialogue is usually that is usually either put on the interns or that is put on a third-party outsourcing type studio in quite a lot of cases. So someone somewhere is not having work that they should have. We'll see what goes on. The AI
stuff is going to be a feature of AI going forward. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we got more AI talk later. Marvel Spider-Man 2. Do you want to hear a rumor of a release date?
Yeah,
was
go
this
on then.
The voice actor that hadn't been briefed on?
Yes.
Shouldn't probably tell them about our release window plans, basically.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, so this is Tony Todd, who is voicing Venom in the game, who I think we've just heard one line of dialogue where he says, we will, or something like that, or we are in the trailer. If you don't know Tony Todd, he is Candyman. He's that man that gave me nightmares as a child, along with Freddy Krueger. And
Gary Glitter.
So the thing is, when you get someone who is more of a traditional actor,
I don't want to be in your gang.
If you've got someone who's more of a traditional actor or works in voice acting, not necessarily in video games, or they're not a Nolan North type or a Troy Baker type, you may not know the protocols that go around with a video game and the secrecy behind it, because we know the game is meant to come out in 2023. And Tony Todd on Twitter accidentally stated that the game is coming out in September.
Whoops.
So Oops.
I mean,
big
you say
campaign ramp up in
accidentally.
September.
He very deliberately said it. Like it wasn't like he just like fell on his keyboard or something. Like
Yeah.
Oh no! The monkeys! It's that AI bot typing my tweets for me again.
I think he kind of followed it up the next day as in more of a cheeky kind of, I didn't say anything. What are you talking about? You're all crazy. You said something. Shut up. Okay. And also I'll throw this one in very quickly as well, because we spoke about this before. If you remember Everywhere, the game that was revealed in the Summer Games Fest, which had a very kind of Ready Player One look about it, where it's a game within a game within a game and all these different styles going along. And then immediately there was all this leaks, leaks according to people online and rumor and all this kind of stuff about it's all going to be blockchain and NFT related, to which Builder Rocket Boy, the developers behind Everywhere, they have finally come out and said, no, it's got nothing to, we've got no interest in blockchain or NFTs. It's nothing to do with that. They put new trailers out for the game, which is why they're talking about this. But this is kind of a bit like Dreams. It's a game maker type program. So it should be interesting. That's going to be, it's scheduled to be released sometime this year on PC, PS5, and the Xbox Series. So we'll hear more about that as we come closer.
I think most games seem to be distancing themselves from blockchain or NFTs, which has very quickly become a toxic term in gamers and in other fields. Amazing how many tech bros seem to have jumped from blockchain and NFTs to AI now that's the more popular thing as well. But hey,
that's the thing. There was, I think it all kind of started off with the Squeenix thing, where they did their address for the year and spoke about their former CEO talking about NFTs and how they're all in on it, and the following year almost seemingly doubled down on it. But in that the one state of address to the other state of address, it just seemed like every rumor on the internet was a new game gets announced and then everyone goes, oh yeah, that's full of NFTs, and a new Stars program from PlayStation. Yeah, that's all NFTs. That's all blockchain. And they did it for so many things. And now that's all going away and it goes, well, this is all full of AI now. It's all going to put people out of jobs. It's all AI generated art and writing and everything. So you're going to hear a lot of rumors about AI, whether it's true
interesting
or not.
times ahead.
There you go. Right.
Indeed.
That is all the news we have time for this week.
I think you're correct.
Before we get to Tabletop Tuesday,
I was going to say one other thing.
I do think.
Did you guys see that Pixel Ripped 1978 was announced this week?
Yes, in conjunction with Atari, which was cool.
Being published by Atari, has Atari 2600 in it. Looks very cool. Anyway, I'll leave it at that for now. But yeah,
that's
good, Tim. Well
Tim's
done.
extra little bit of VR at the end there.
My eyes, the goggles do nothing.
Anyway, before we get to Tabletop Tuesday, Dan, you shield merchandise, and then we're going to do I Have a Question for good reason.
Oh, I'm going to sell my face again. Face, buy my face.
On
buy my
OnlyFans.
face. Yes. But if you can't afford my exorbitant, if you can't, yes,
title.
Finally, Tim's got an episode title. If you want to see
face.
me, OnlyDans. If you want your sweet OnlyDans merch, and you don't want to pay excessive amounts of money to see me prance about my underwear, then you need to go to tpublic.com/store/BRB, where you can find a whole load of BRB sweet merch, including things with my face on it, and also Tim and Coleman.
I'm so changing the wording on your T-shirt this week, but hey.
Yeah, right.
The community hangout section of Discord, can we add one room just called OnlyDans, and it's only you're allowed
only
to
people
post
called Dan. Only people called Dan is allowed to post in it. Dan can converse with other Dans.
That's good. It's only Dan. We're allowed one Dan.
Yeah, one.
No Dans allowed.
It's no more Dan. No more Dans are allowed in the server. Yeah. Anyway,
sorry, what was that link again, Dan?
It was tpublic.com/store/BRB.
And I believe this weekend all T-shirts are down to $16. I'm not sure what that equates to in pounds, but yeah, have a look. Buy some T-shirts this week.
I'll have a look. If you've enjoyed this show, then Lord help you, but we would like you to get in contact with us. You can do so via the comment section of bigredbarrel.com. Also there we have a link to our Discord. We have a Facebook and a Twitter at Big Red Barrel. We have a YouTube called Big Red Barrel TV. If you go onto any of those ways, you can set comments, you can talk to us, you can ask us how our day is. You can ask us just general questions about video games. And most people like to say, I have a question.
I have a question.
We're going to do one from Ed because he's getting a bit antsy that we're not using his questions and we got a backlog. He wants to know.
Ed.
He's going over, lads. He wants to know what other podcast you all enjoy and listen to. I will set one of these up if it's video game related. I've quite gone into a fairly recent show called the Nintendo podcast, which is Beat 'em Ups and Wolf Den. They collaborated and made a podcast. I'm one of their Patreon subscribers. Very good. If it's comedy more type of thing, there was a reboot of The Biggest Problem in the Universe, which was an old podcast from a while ago. That's back with new host. I've been really enjoying that one too. A little bit on the offensive side at times, but funny if you like that kind of thing. And also on the video game side, our friends over at Gamers Confessional podcast. I do enjoy their stuff as well. Give them a shout out.
Keep on meaning to listen to them.
As I told their host, they're us with worse audio.
Yeah. Suck it. I've always been a bit, in terms of video game podcasts, I've always been quite partial to Giant Bomb's East Coast office.
Oh, okay.
I quite like the Beastcast. I quite like them. In terms of just general giggles.
Beastcast? I don't think it is.
I thought they'd all left and set up their own thing.
To it. Yeah, so there we go. It shows last time I listened to that.
Yeah, there's still a Giant Bomb, but it's completely different.
There's still a Giant Bomb, but lots of them left.
Yeah.
So retro, old school Giant Bomb probably I quite like. But in terms of just general giggles, I quite like the Beef and Dairy Network podcast.
Okay.
You're welcome.
I don't listen to
it.
as many podcasts as I used to. I still occasionally tune into Giant Bomb, despite them losing most of the people that I was mainly attracted to there. The other one that I do listen to a bit here and there is the Friends Per Second podcast, which is friend of the show, Lucy James, and Skill Up, and a couple of other people. But that's quite informative, quite good, and yeah, I quite like that.
By the way, Dan, the Giant Beastcast hasn't existed since May of 2021.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like that. I've
got a backlog.
I hope you're happy, Ed. There's one of your questions. Next week, another Ed question till we get through this backlog of Ed questions. Sometimes we just delete
To be fair, Ed did ask that question in May 2021, so it's fine. So my answer is still valid.
And a question from Olivero. That sounds better. He says, do you guys know if Tabletop Tuesday still happens at the loading bar? Interested in joining?
Yes, it does. Generally, we try and do a different feature game every week. That's been a bit problematic here and there, but we tend to still have a feature game every week. And I also didn't make it I didn't make it the last 2 weeks because I've been stupidly busy at work. But even when I'm not there, we are putting on an event and doing something. Like last week, we did some games of Blood on the Clock Tower. And yeah, this week, we're having a feature game. Do come along, give me a shout if there's a particular week you're coming. I try and make it every Tuesday, but it's rare that I don't. It's just I've been absolutely rammed at work for the last couple of weeks. But yeah, just note that it is the loading bar in Stoke, Newington that we do the events at. Come along any Tuesday. At the very least, there'll be some people there to play some games with, but most weeks we have a different feature game, and you can play that feature game and win that feature game that evening. More details on the top left-hand corner of bigredbarrel.com, or you can join our meetup group, and on meetup.com, search for Tabletop Tuesdays. Join the over 2,000 members there, and you can get some more details there. I tend to try and post every week. Again, I didn't even get a chance to post that this week because I've been so busy. But yeah. We'll be on this week. So if that's a good week for you, come down, come say hello. And I'll introduce you to some people there, and you can find some people to play some games with.
And thank you, Olivero, for setting Tim up for his own little segment there on Tabletop Tuesday.
I want to call
Thank
him
you.
Oliveroo now.
Oliveroo.
Oliveroo.
Cycle some takeaway over to me.
Exactly. You can order on Oliveroo while you're watching OnlyDans. That's what you can do.
Did you know Tim's not actually been busy the last 2 weeks of Tabletop Tuesday? He's got his missus go, Tim, aren't you meant to be leaving for Loading Bar about now? And he's got his headset. I go, what? What? I'm not going out of the house.
They do nothing.
I've got to deal with the zombies. Zombies, darling.
Why is he from Birmingham?
I don't know.
Is that almost when the VR headset goes,
Yeah.
Now,
VR.
I've got something that isn't in the agenda for you two before we go.
Birmingham reality.
Dan, what? Dan, stop trying to be northern. You'll upset my father. Right.
Hey up, Mr. Coleman.
I've got something for you two that isn't on the agenda because we mentioned this last week, Dan. The idea of AI talking about the podcast.
Has AI been leaving us reviews?
As I mentioned earlier,
yes.
I got into the Google Bard program thing and gave it a try. And I asked it while I was editing the podcast. I went, I wonder if this will write a review for Google, for Big Red Barrel UK. And lo and behold, this is what I got when I said, write me a review for the BRB UK podcast. Those are the words that I used. The BRB UK podcast is a weekly show that covers the latest in news, reviews, and in the world of gaming, hosted by Dan, Tim, and Coleman. So far, so good.
Ooh.
The podcast is a must-listen for any fan of video games. Yes. Any fan of video games.
Not only fans.
It continues.
Any fan.
The hosts, OnlyDans. The hosts are all knowledgeable and passionate about gaming. They also bring a great sense of humor to the show. They're also not afraid to be critical of the industry, which makes for some interesting discussions.
Interesting discussions.
The podcast is well organized and easy to follow. Each episode starts with a quick rundown of the latest news, followed by a more in-depth discussion on a few specific topics. The hosts also take time to answer listener questions and give their thoughts on the latest games.
Wow,
close.
Actually,
that's kind of our old format, but yeah.
Exactly. I was going to say, considering though that we're not, I wouldn't describe us as a big time podcast.
Big time.
Big time, Charlie.
That's actually worryingly good. Summary of the show.
I don't know if you saw.
There's a little. Wait for it, Dan. There's some more here. There's some more. Overall. There's more. Overall, the BRB UK podcast is a great resource for anyone who wants to stay up to date on the latest news, reviews from the world of gaming. The hosts are knowledgeable, passionate, entertaining, and they make the show a must-listen for any fan of video games. It's starting to repeat itself a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
But then, this is the best bit, it wrote out some bullet points for us. Pros.
Okay.
The hosts are knowledgeable and passionate about gaming. The podcast is well organized and easy to follow. The hosts take the time to answer listener questions and give their thoughts on the latest games. Cons. Podcast could be a bit long, especially if you're not interested in the topics they discuss.
I mean, that's a fair point.
And the host can be a bit critical of the industry, which may not be up to everyone's taste. Now, the bit I should have taken this down as well. It actually gives you 3 different answers, and I just picked the top one. But one of the drafts, it was a bit nonsensical, but it said something along the lines of, have a tendency to get stuck on one topic and talk about it for far too long.
Timothy.
I was like, where's that coming from?
Timothy.
I don't know if you saw as well, a listener put up a review that they generated by AI
on YouTube.
In the comments as well on YouTube. Yeah, that was quite complimentary.
I'll see if I can grab that 2 seconds.
So the good thing is we're appeasing our robot overlords. That's
yes.
I mean, I was surprised there was a little criticism about talking about one subject for too long, because I thought him talking about menus would appease programs.
Yeah,
I thought that would be like porn to them, you know.
That's not the bit they were.
Tell me more about the operations.
OnlyDans.
OnlyDans. So this one is from Bazoon. He looked on Bing AI and said, if you're looking for a fun, informative podcast about video games, movies, and geek culture, you may want to check out Big Red Barrel UK. The hosts are witty, passionate, and they cover a wide range of topics from the latest news and releases to retro classics and trivia. The podcast is also interactive as they often read listener comments and questions on air. Big Red Barrel UK is a great way to stay updated and entertained with all things geeky. I feel it's kind of mixing our own description with Geek Speaks and just gone, there you go. But the Google one freaked me out because I was like, where's it getting this from? Because usually... And another peek behind the curtains. This week, our agenda, all the news was entirely made by Google Bard.
Ooh.
So,
interesting. That's why we got tons
but when
of
you
it,
do
was
that,
it?
yes, it was easier to do. When you put in something like this and it generates a story for you and writes bullet points and all this kind of stuff, it puts down all the sources that it's pulled this information from. But the podcast review, it didn't. And then I'm trying to find out where it's getting this information from because it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
So yeah,
this is slightly freaky. It definitely is a bit freaky.
Yeah.
I
So this has been my last 48
Coleman.
hours in VR.
Coleman,
VR,
I have a
AR.
question.
Yes.
No, Jesus Christ, Tim, we're an hour and 32 minutes
I
in.
know.
Control yourself.
But when,
Quickly.
don't tell Dan, but when can we replace Dan with AI?
I did talk to you guys about AI generated podcast plans as a laugh, but I think it might be fun to try and do it. But it does involve like 2 weeks of work in setting it up for me.
Yeah.
Might be a little side project one day.
Yeah.
Basically
could be
setting
fun.
up our own demise as the robots take over.
Yep. We've got our exit strategy. It's fine.
Exactly. Dan, let's get out of
Yes. Alrighty. So do all the things Coleman told you to do. Check out the show notes. Come say hello on our Discord. Go to all the bits of the internet with / Big Red Barrel after them, and you will doubtless find us. We're going to be back next week. Probably talk a bit more about Diablo 4 than that when we've all had a chance to have a little fiddle in the beta. We love having a little fiddle in the beta. And doubtless Tim's going to bore us senseless with more VR talk.
VR.
You know, why wouldn't you listen, right? Why wouldn't you listen? So, we're done. All that's really left to do is remind you that I have been Dan.
I might have been Tim.
Ooh, over an hour and a half. That's pretty chaotic. I've been chaos.
You sounded like you just crimped out a fresh length of satisfying chaos there, Coleman.
Oh, chaos.
Oh,
That really tickles me giblets.
High fiber diets do work. That's a great length of chaos. Anyway, thank you. We're going to go now. Speak to you next week. And until next time, dear listeners, toodle bye.
Your time is up, my time is now. You can't see me, my time is now. It's the franchise where I'm shining now. You can't see me, my time is now.
You and your ears are quite welcome.
For the podcasting goodness that you just heard.
Why not roll on over
To BigRedBarrel.com.
for more podcasts?
News, reviews, and videos from the biggest, reddest site on the internet. BigRedBarrel.com.
And go in to learn about the history of all their games. So, I'm, it sounds quite fun.
I mean, is this what you do when you're having a
midlife?
midlife crisis as a gaming company? Like, you open a theme park. I think that's how it goes. Instead of buying a sports car,
Yeah, so
this
look,
is the